Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so welcome to the Lancaster Affordable Housing Trust meeting of Thursday, March 7th, 2024 via Zoom. We're getting underway at 7:02 p.m. And we will start with a roll call attendance. Trustee Jason Allison.
Here.
Trustee Frank Streeter.
Here.
Trustee Deborah Williams.
Here.
Trustee ex officio Kelly Dolan.
Here.
And trustee and chair Victoria Petracca is here. Trustee Carolyn Reed is at a conference this evening and sends her regrets. So other than Carolyn, we are all present tonight. Next, approval of meeting minutes, review and take action on the meeting minutes of February 1st, 2024 and February 15th, 2024. Frank, I don't think you've had a chance to send those around. I personally haven't seen them.
No, I found some errors in them and I just haven't had a chance to correct them.
Okay. All
so
right. So
I'll send updated ones when it happens.
Okay, we will table our minutes. Hopefully we can take care of that at our next meeting. We do not have a scheduled appearance tonight. Moving on to item 4, the housing production plan. For folks in attendance this evening, Lancaster has a 5-year housing production plan, which is a document that's recommended by the state. It brings us lots of good things besides having a vision and a plan for affordable housing in the town and a roadmap for getting into state compliance. It also gives us a lot of perks with different grants and planning opportunities and things. It's like having a gold star on your town. It's also a requirement for getting into safe harbor under Chapter 40B. So even if you get up and over your 10%, if you don't have an approved housing production plan, you're not in safe harbor. So our housing production plan is expiring. And so we have been working on getting an updated housing production plan. Brian, you sent around a draft notice of award. Thank you so much. And also a draft contract. That was terrific. Those were circulated to the members of the trust and to Kate Hodges. I'm hoping that everyone had a chance to read them over and bring any comments or feedback for Brian this evening. We want to get those out the door after Kate approves them, so that the firm that we selected, Community Scale, can get underway. Let's start with the draft notice of award. Were there any comments on that letter? This is the letter to Jeff Saucer, principal of Community Scale. I thought it was a great.
Doesn't Kate just pretty much cut and paste those? I mean, there's got to be a standard text. Something tells me Kate just didn't write that out of plain, just pulled it out of the air. And I'm certainly not qualified to say, oh, that's in the legal form or not. So I'm assuming that due diligence has been done.
Yeah, this was a form that was, this was what was used. This was the, what she sent me was the contract and award letter we used to get Wayne Fiden on board. So just edited it for these purposes.
All right, I think it looks.
The only thing I made a change. I mean, a couple of changes, but like for instance, down at the end, as required by MGL Chapter 30. Oh no, I'm sorry. The award letter was for not for Wayne. It was for a construction contract for the community center last year. So there had to be a few changes made just to make sure the procurement of professional services is just 30B. It's not Chapter 30B, 3149, or so I removed that. So I just made sure it was under the same right compliance, or right section of the Procurement Act. But other than that, I think everything should. The RFP was RFP FY 24005B, so everything should be. I think everything else should check out. But like you say, right, there was no one on the board or the trust would really know those things.
Brian, I think there's just a word missing in the first paragraph.
Mhm.
In the sentence, 1, 2, 3, this is the third sentence. The town is pleased to confirm a conditional contract award to community scale, I
Oh,
think.
okay, yep.
And then I don't think you need, in the first sentence, I don't think you need an apostrophe after Massachusetts. Town of Lancaster, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, okay, I don't know how that got in there.
It's okay. But other than that, I thought it looked really good, and
Mhm.
I'm eager to send it out so Jeff knows that we want to work with him.
Yeah, well,
And
I
it's
mean,
kind of fun.
I did call him and say that he was the um, highest ranked person, highest ranked responder, and he seemed, he still seemed very interested in doing that. Okay, yeah,
Can we vote as a trust to go ahead and say that we're happy with this letter? Is there a motion to approve the letter and then we can move on to the contract?
I would so move with the caveat that if we find other misplaced commas, etc., that we can just send Brian things directly.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? We'll go ahead and vote. Trustee Jason Allison,
Yes.
trustee Frank Streeter,
Yes.
trustee Deborah Williams,
Yes.
trustee Victoria Petracca, yes. That passes. And so Brian, if you would be so kind as to let Kate know that we looked at it, and other than those two things that we mentioned and any other stray, non-material kinds of edits, we're very happy to see this go out. Okay, does that sound good, Brian?
that sounds great. Yep.
Okay, good. Let's move on. The next thing is the draft contract. And the draft contract is also, I think a lot of it is boilerplate, but then there are sections that were bespoke to the updated housing production plan. Any feedback for Brian on the contract?
Well, just to note that I didn't attach, I think, because we all have, I would, in these instances, you just attach the proposal and just label it attachment A. So whenever you see attachment A in the contract, it's referring to the proposal that we received and ranked, and that would be at this point, it would be the scope of work is included in there.
That makes sense. I only had a comment on page 2. Section 3, schedule for completion.
Yes.
Okay, so all those milestones look good. They follow the RFP, and they follow what community scale agreed to do. But we left out at the very end where it says final presentation to Affordable Housing Trust. That final presentation in the RFP and in what community scale agreed to do is actually a joint presentation to the Affordable Housing Trust, but also the planning board and the select board.
Mm-hmm.
So I just added comma, planning board and select board.
Okay, and I also I mean, I just tossed out that these dates, like April 8th, that's the next meeting of the AHT.
It's actually April 4th. It's April 4th. That was another comment I had.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, I don't know why I did that. Okay, so
Okay.
April 4th, and then
Because it's the planning board.
April 8th, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's when I emailed you yesterday, Frank, and because at first I was thinking this was going to be the expiration date for this grant was June 30th of this year. And then I went back just to check, and it's June 30th of 25. So we actually have plenty of time. And so that's why I kind of spread it out. So we don't have a notice to proceed until April 1st. but then the final presentation at the AHT is also an AHT meeting night. So again, that's
Right.
just for your consideration. And I think I spread it out pretty much the milestones according to their, if you look in their timeline in the proposal, it pretty much matches up. I tried to match it to that as much as I could, and I think it goes pretty well.
Brian, I had a couple other comments. That date, I really appreciate that for the last presentation that you looked out for the housing trust, but I think because it's a joint presentation to planning board and select board, I think we may want to choose a night that the select board meets.
Okay.
I would also suggest that we not pick a night a couple days after Labor Day, because that's going to mean that all the final tweaking is going to be done in August when people tend to wish to be on vacation. So if we have a little bit of extra time, you know, even just pushing it back a week, because we all know there's going to be tweaks the last week.
Yeah, or we go to the second select board meeting in September.
Sounds good to me. Whatever that date is, I trust that you'll just.
So that would be the 16th.
16th?
Although that would assume that the select board is not going to say we're not meeting on Labor Day, so we're going to meet again on the 9th. Jason, you have any thoughts on that?
Select board meetings have been challenging to schedule. I would just do your thing. Let's just do our thing and let the cards fall.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right. The other thing we need to add on that was in the RFP and in their plan is this gets submitted to former DHCD, now EOHLC, that I think we're calling I think folks have settled on HLC as the name for what used to be DHCD. So after this plan is approved by planning board and select board, it then gets submitted to the state.
Yes.
And specifically it's HLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, former DHCD in the alphabet soup.
Yeah.
So that is all part of their contract, and it was in the RFP and it was in their proposal. So I just want to add that on as another milestone, that they don't wrap up after that presentation at the select board and then, you know, that's it. They keep going.
Yeah, they walk through to HLC for us. Yeah.
It goes, and then it also says in the RFP and in their proposal that they will prepare any revisions based on feedback from HLC. So in the event that HLC kicks it back or says, oh, you know, you've got to tweak this or that, or there's not enough info on whatever, part of their agreement is in what they're proposing, what was in the RFP, is to help us with that. It's really to take it all the way to approval by the state. So I just want those two, I think those two additional milestones need to be really clear in this contract.
Sure. Okay.
And I'm not sure it needs to be in the contract, but they had discussed a website and updatability and stuff like that. So we ought to have a meeting about that, at least as part of the trust, at some point in September, once we've seen their final work, and to see if we want to propose that the town do that.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Brian, those additional milestones need to have a date with them. I would say, like, you know, mid-September, well, maybe end of September. How about September 30th for submittal to HLC? I mean, this is depending on how it goes at the select board and the planning board. They may have additional work they want done on it, but if not, I'd say end of September 30th for submittal to the state. And then by the end of October, we'd want any revisions done.
Quick question.
Yes, Jason.
LHC, the Lancaster Historical Commission. And that's not what we're talking about. Who is the LHC?
It's Housing and Living Communities. It's the new.
Yeah. It's the new term for what used to be the Department, DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. It's the state level affordable housing oversight.
Can I make a motion to ask them to change their acronym? I'm kidding. Okay.
I will second that motion, Jason, without question.
So this is all under, when it's Governor Healy changed the status of DHCD, they came under the executive branch of state government. So they're now the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, and they're now going by HLC. That's who it is, to translate. But I'm sure she'd be happy to hear from Lancaster that we want to change the name. So. Anything else on the contract? I have a question, Brian, about the work, how this dovetails with the work that Wayne Feldon is doing. Plan Sustain is his firm. So he was contracted with the town to write the master plan. And in that master plan, there's a section on housing overall and particularly affordable housing. And the Housing Trust has decided to work with Community Scale on this. And I think this timeline with Community Scale makes all kinds of sense. But I thought that Wayne had to finish up the master plan well before this timeline. And I guess, can we have some bookmark or something where the housing section is added in with Community Scale or something? How do we get the good work that Community Scale is going to do into the master plan? Like, I don't think the whole housing production plan goes in the master plan, but I think a summary of it would go in the master plan.
Sure. Well, let's see. We're going to be done with the master plan by the end of June. This is really just kind of getting started. So most intense, all intense. Well, no, we'll be halfway through. So, for instance, there's still public meeting one, public meeting two. No, the first public meeting. And when we're supposed to have this third community forum in late May, maybe those two can coincide. I don't know what purpose that would serve, but
well, it does.
I mean, I think it's just a sharing of data. I think is going to be what we're looking for. I mean, the master plan is really kind of an overview of what the housing element is, and these sub plans, be it a housing production plan or open space and recreation plan, these things can be informed by the master plan, but I don't think that they have to have the same text in them. I think it's the master plan. I'll talk to Wayne and get his take on it, but I don't think that they have to exactly mirror. I think the master plan will, refer to the work that the housing production plan is doing and say that this is part of the housing element, overall housing policy of the town. And then the housing element, the housing production plan takes the housing element from the master plan a step further, or goes to a deeper dive into housing.
I guess I'm concerned that they're not going to match, and I'm concerned that Wayne won't have the conclusions that are going to come out of this work. And I guess my question is, why does Wayne have to wrap his thing up? Did you say June?
Because that we do have a grant deadline of June 30th for that.
Well, can we insert our summary of the housing production plan into the master plan when we're done doing the work of the housing production plan?
I don't see why not. I mean, at that point, will the master plan have been adopted by the town at that point? I mean, I don't see a reason why you couldn't do it.
Okay, I just don't want to have a flimsy section on housing in the master plan because we haven't finished this work.
Right. But I think the housing plan informs I mean, the master plan informs the housing plan, like in the direction it's going. I don't, I think the best thing we can do is have Wayne and community scale and us talk, and just see how that would work out. I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up because, I know that the master plan is underway and the housing section isn't going to be, we're doing this in parallel, but our dates are slightly different, so.
Yeah, no, and I know Wayne, I've already talked to Wayne about this. He's fully expecting, he said, even if it isn't me, the selected vendor, he has no qualms about working with community scale and, making sure that both plans are optimized vis-a-vis the other, that both are in each other.
Right.
Wish was there.
Okay, but he's done as of June 30th.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, as long as we can tweak the housing section after he's gone, then that sounds fine. Okay, I don't have anything else on this contract. I thought the rest of it seemed fine to me. If there are no other comments about the contract, is there a motion to approve this with the tweaks that we brought up?
So moved.
Thank you, Frank. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Deborah. And any discussion? Hearing none, let's go with the vote. Trustee Jason Allison,
Yes.
trustee Frank Streeter,
Yes.
trustee Deborah Williams,
Yes.
trustee Victoria Petracca. Yes, that passes. And Brian, if you could let Kate know, the Housing Trust had a couple of changes that you're making, and that after those are made, if she wants to go ahead and approve it, or I don't know if she has additional changes, but it can head off to Jeff Sauser for signatures.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, everyone. Moving on. Review the annual report submittal. So this is for the town annual report, 2023. I circulated two things. I circulated a draft. They've had a couple photos with it. And then Jason provided sort of like a streamlined version earlier today that I circulated as well. Thank you, Jason, for taking time to put that together.
It took 5 seconds.
All right, thanks for your 5 seconds. Time is valuable. Does anyone have feedback for which version they feel most comfortable using or they prefer?
Well, I worked on one of them, so I should sort of recuse myself, but it's at a certain point, it's the select board's annual report. And so if our select board liaison says, hey, this is sort of the thing we'd like to see, I certainly don't object. There are a couple minor updates I would make, that we did pass the zoning and actually we're above 6% affordable housing now because of Cottage Lane. But if that's the appropriate format, I'm fine with that. I'm not, Victoria and I worked in a different format, largely Victoria. So I'm officially indifferent.
Victoria, do I mind? Is it okay if I jump in?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I come clean. Mine was kind of done in jest, right? Like I wanted to see how good a tool could be used to create that based on all of our public documents over the last year. So that's what I sent. If anything, I would encourage this board to use what y'all have created. And if that can add any detail that maybe got forgot or as a reminder, then that's helpful. But literally that was 5 seconds of time to generate based on public records.
Can I ask a quick question, Jason? Were you able to use AI or something similar to assemble those facts? Because that was pretty impressive. So I'm quite interested.
Well, Frank, I would encourage you to watch my presentation that was given at the last select board meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't watch that one. I was out of town.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. But before
Bravo.
this meeting's time, I would encourage you to to watch it. It's about 24 minutes. It's a little long, but it'll go through all of it. So that report is based off of the 8,000 public records that are stored in Lancaster's public records. And they're sorted by all of the Lancaster Affordable Housing Trust records.
Great.
That's
Nicely
very
done.
interesting.
Thank you.
Wow. I had a question for you, Jason. Is there a sense that the annual report should be in this kind of like bulleted format that you provided for the trust?
No, literally I asked if you look at the email that Victoria sent, it says create a report detailing. That was the question I asked, and everything else is what the AI returned. So no, that's literally just whatever it came back with.
All right. So Jason, you're saying that you'd like us to look at that. If there's anything that we can glean from it to add to the other draft, go for it.
Yep.
But
Just meant to be helpful. Just meant to be helpful.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought it was great. 2 thumbs up.
I mean, I do think that as I was looking at the annual report from last year, the thing is massive. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read it, but it's like 250 pages or something. It's ginormous. And so I don't know. That's why I thought maybe Jason was getting at like, bullets, just do bullets. But all right, is there any other feedback on this annual report submittal? No? Is there a motion to go with what we wrote, although with the caveat to add anything from Jason's AI version?
I'll move that. That
Okay.
works.
Thank you, Frank. Is there a second?
So move it with the caveat that we can add anything that's not included from Jason's AI version. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, if before we send this to the town clerk and Kathy Rocco, if we, being Frank and I, look at Jason's and like there's something that popped up in his AI generated version that we somehow completely missed. I'm looking at it now, but I don't think there is, but I can, if there is anything that we want to add, something that we missed, we could add that in.
Right. And the only thing I thought was when I read the 6.4% was, do we add like to date or currently, or does that do that for the annual report or something like that? Or
I think we say currently or as of December 31st, 2023.
Or at the end of 2023, it stood at,
Sure.
yeah, or something like that.
Absolutely.
Sorry, bringing it up late, but that was the
No.
only thing I noticed.
I think it's good, Deb. I think that's important to say as of when, as of December 31st, 2023. I just made a note to add that in the first paragraph.
54.
Frank, I think you're muted.
Isn't it better that way? Jason flagged community concerns, which is something that's a phrase we didn't use, but I think that would be a good one to use.
Okay. We'll add that in. So I heard Frank's motion, but I did not hear a second.
Oh, sorry. I can second that.
Okay, thanks, Deb. Any more discussion on the motion? So far, we're adding Deb's comment about a date going with our percentage. We're adding community concerns from Jason's AI document. Okay. I'm not hearing any more discussion, so let's go ahead and vote on this. We are under a deadline to get this submitted to the town. Trustee Jason Allison,
Yes.
Trustee Frank Streeter,
Yes.
Trustee Deborah Williams,
Yes.
and Trustee Victoria Petracca, yes. So that passes. So Frank and I will make those edits and look at Jason's document a final time to see if there's anything else to glean, and then send this to Kathy Rocco and the town clerk, Mandy Cannon, tomorrow. So we can have this included in the town's annual report. All right, thank you, everyone. Next up, updates to our subsidized housing inventory pipeline. Number one, the 40R Smart Growth District on Lunenburg Road, Route 70. I heard from Capital Group earlier today. I requested an update, and I will share with you what I learned. So their engineers are Bowler, I think everybody knows. And Bowler updated their permitting status memo, which I received earlier today, and I'm happy to post in our, I just got it earlier, so I can put it in our meeting materials. But their big report for MIPA got pushed out, and it's anticipated to be filed in April-May of 2024. It's the SDEIR, specifically SDEIR. And they are in front of Planning Board, I believe, and Conservation with a new notice of intent. That's currently going through peer review. And I think the town has done a peer review on the Planning Board submission and is now going to do a peer review on the Conservation Commission submission. So that is what we currently know. So that's the update there. Brian, do you have anything to add on Capital Group for North Lancaster?
No, not specifically on that. Again, I'm just trying to, keep track of the different, and then I'm still awaiting payment from the applicant to give the green light on that NOI the peer review of the NOI. So I'm hoping that's going to come in tomorrow or Monday, so we can get that going in time and have a review ready for the next conservation meeting not this week, but the next one on the 26th, I believe it is.
Bob is telling me Bob DiPietri thinks the peer review on the Planning Board submission is done. So if you were saying that you're waiting on something from him.
No, on the Planning Board side, it's done. They're working, but they actually just requested. Well, this is going to be on the Planning Board agenda. They're requesting that their response to the peer review is not complete.
Okay.
They're going to be requesting an extension.
Okay.
But the peer review of the notice of intent submission to the Conservation Board, that is underway.
Okay.
Some overlap in what they're doing, but I mean,
Yep.
there's two
Okay.
different. Yep.
Got it. All right. And I will put their revised permitting status memo in our meeting materials. So anyone listening tonight that wants to see that document can have a look. IT has to put it in there, so it should be up tomorrow. I'll send it to them in the morning and they'll hopefully get it up there tomorrow. All right. Moving on, Neck Farm Estates, 13 Neck Road, Chapter 40B comprehensive permit. My understanding is that they're underway at the Board of Appeals, and there was a presentation from Ralph Gifford, who's on this Zoom tonight. Ralph explained to the Board of Appeals and the folks in attendance at the meeting, I'm just going to let Ralph do it. He's here, but that there is a holdup with the sewer credits. Ralph, would you mind jumping in and just giving the Affordable Housing Trust the short version of what you said the other night at the Board of Appeals meeting regarding the sewer connection?
Yes, be happy to.
Thank you.
Our sewer bank has no credits, and we've recently realized may in fact have negative credits. We have overdrawn our sewer bank. To get more credits, we need to find infiltration and inflow to reduce I&I. We are commencing a study this month. In fact, the meters will be installed in approximately a week. This study is going to take us several months. We expect results to come in around November. So going into next year, we should have thoroughly identified I&I opportunities, which should then give us more sewer bank credits and would allow developments like Neck Road to go forward. That's a short version.
Thank you for that. And also I should have explained for anyone watching tonight, Ralph is a commissioner on the Lancaster Sewer District Board, so that's why he is so well versed in sewer credits. So are there any questions for Ralph or any other comments on Neck Road? Brian, maybe there are other things that we should update on with that project. That was the big one, was the sewer situation, but where are they with or was there like I think there was a peer review on traffic that was
That's underway. The
that's
Vanessa
underway.
is just reminded me I was supposed to call someone there today, not on that, but yes, the Vanessa is, and they're planning on having that ready for the next zoning board meeting on the 25th, 28th, one of those dates.
I think it's the 28th. Yeah. Okay. So Vanessa is coming in on the 28th to present their traffic findings?
Yeah, they would normally do that, yes, but they'll
Okay.
have their letter to the board, to the zoning board, hopefully a week before that can be
Okay.
then be reviewed, and then they would do a presentation at the meeting.
Brian, I have a question about this project. Is there a place online that things like the Van Ness traffic report or things like that are getting where they're posted?
There would be up, not yet, but I mean, well, they could easily be put up on the. There is a 40 Neck Road 40B link on the ZBA website, on the ZBA page, so these reports can be put up there.
Okay. All right.
And I'll see to it that they get up there.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thanks. All right.
Victoria?
Yes, Frank.
Excuse me, Chair Petracca, before we move on, the planning board has been charged with reviewing their stormwater work. So it is apparently the process that the ZBA reaches out to boards with specific expertise, like the Sewer Commission, and asks for more information. So the planning board will be reviewing their stormwater. I can't say to what end. We haven't even seen the documents yet.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. All right. Moving on from Neck Farm Estates, Laurel Hill, Harbor Classic Homes, 2038 Lunenburg Road, Route 70. This is the famous iPod special permit that is a project that has 23 homes and a small office building under the iPod regulations. And this project was permitted just before the town adopted inclusionary zoning. And there was a request made by folks in favor of affordable housing that the special permit include, originally we asked for 3 units of affordable housing among the 23 to keep us at or above 10%. So in other words, this project wouldn't slide us further behind. There was a lot of back and forth with the developer on this, and initially quite a lot of resistance. But at the end of the day, we shook hands on 2 units of affordable housing. So 2 out of the 23 must be deed restricted affordable. And this is an owner occupied project. And these are single family homes. There was a request that came in from ironically, and Laurel is her name. The project is, I guess, was going to be called Laurel Hill, but Laurel Adams requested that the two affordable homes be subbed out to Habitat for Humanity. There's been a little back and forth recently on this. She initially asked this about a year ago. She didn't really ask, actually. It was, we were informed that they had reached out to Habitat for Humanity and would like to donate the two lots. And I explained that in the special permit, which I gave her, I provided a copy of, it specifies that those units, those affordable units, have to be indistinguishable from the other units, meaning the same building materials, the same manufacturer guarantees and warranties on everything. The units have to be dispersed. They can't be side by side. They have to be spread throughout. Those two units have to be spread throughout the development. So for all those reasons and others, that would not work. And then she acknowledged that, but then the project was halted because they had a cease and desist for their stormwater, a cease and desist from the planning board and also from the Conservation Commission. So everything went kind of silent while they worked on that. But within the last couple of weeks, she wrote to me again to say that they would like to move forward with Habitat for Humanity. And they brought this up at their last planning board meeting as well. So I did, I emailed the chair of the planning board. I emailed Frank in his capacity of chair of the planning board and Brian Keating, our planning director, to explain that, you know, according to the permit, they cannot do this. So that's something that I wanted to bring up tonight in full disclosure and transparency. We are starting to have just a little bit of, I don't know what the right word would be, not just, everything's very polite, but I'm kind of holding the line on that because I love Habitat for Humanity. I love the work they do. However, the whole point of getting these two units was that they would be integrated into a development and not appear any, to be any less than what is built as market rate housing. So although I love Habitat, I don't view them as a partner in this particular project. Any thoughts on that or other points of view?
Is this open to anyone or?
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, please jump in. Absolutely.
Right.
Open to anyone.
I had a conversation earlier with Frank. And again, I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of, because I know Peter, in my files, we have the four, I think, let's say it four, I may be five, different architectural styles that are designated or, to be used throughout the project to meet the integrated plan, no two styles next to each other and spread out through the project. And I believe, so those styles would be used, and those building plans would be used by Habitat. I guess the way I'm viewing it is, the general contractor for the development would still be the general contractor for these development homes. I think Habitat's mission is to it's just, I think it's just a question of who's banging nails. I don't think there's going to be any other difference. I don't see, the builder is ultimately responsible for what these houses will look like. But I mean, you're going to have Habitats in their capacity to have their volunteers and have their selected homeowner, who I believe is selected through the affordable housing, the fair housing marketing plan. I don't think there's any difference. I just see it as a question of who's actually banging nails. So you have volunteers from, corporate offices on different weekends, and you have a core group of Habitat volunteers. And from what I understand, this is a very well-established affiliate that they have, licensed contractors leading licensed contractors leading these groups every build day, every build weekend, or however they do it. I mean, personally, I don't, it doesn't matter to me which way they go, but I'm just thinking, I don't think if the idea is that you're going to have these two, single story, 2-bedroom ranches, Habitat of Humanity style in the midst of this development, I don't think that's the case. They're going to be using the architectural plans, the floor plans, and the styles that were accepted in the integrated plan.
Brian, let me fast forward. If a income eligible family moves into one of these units that was built by Habitat, okay? To whom do they have recourse when their HVAC, malfunctions? Do they go to Habitat or do they go to Harbor Classic Homes?
I would think it's Harbor Classic. Well, okay. I mean, that's a valid question. I don't know. But I mean, who would anyone go to? I mean, they would either go to the builder, the developer, or if the land is donated to Habitat, I'm sure Habitat, I think we could ask this question of the affiliate. Maybe we should meet with the affiliate. Maybe the trust should meet with the affiliate.
I really don't think Habitat belongs in this because I think it leaves the income eligible folks at a disadvantage vis-a-vis their neighbors who are in the market rate housing.
But they're in the same housing. It's going to be ultimately the same housing.
Guys, can I interject here for a second?
Yes, go ahead, Frank.
This is really a matter for the planning board at this point. So I'm not going to say anything else here, but the planning board has to make a decision on this. And so I would strongly encourage you and other Affordable Housing Trust members to please, come to those meetings, come to those hearings and express this, because the planning board is going to have to vote on this. And as the Affordable Housing Trust, we can absolutely express our opinion, but it's the planning board that has to vote, which is why I really don't feel that I can say anything further about this at this point, because I don't want to prejudge anything.
Right.
That's
and
fine.
Again, I don't want to be seen as advocating for one side or the other. I'm just, having been part of a Habitat affiliate before, and having some understanding of how it works, but again, I'm just here to provide information. I don't, I'm not going to be pushing for one way or the other.
It's totally different. The Affordable Housing Trust got involved with 32 Carter Street, which was a Habitat for Humanity project. And so that project never got recorded correctly for Lancaster. And so, it wasn't completely done. I went with Carolyn Reed over there to the property for some work that had to be done. And anyway, to make a long story short, the Habitat projects are run totally differently than what Harbor Classic Homes does. And I'm concerned that the special permit is very precise about these units being indistinguishable. And that also includes their craftsmanship and who is ultimately building them. And, and what happens with after sale, what happens with warranties and who do I go to when I have a problem with construction. And it seems to me from my conversation with Laurel Adams that they are effectively handing the affordable housing requirement, handing it off to Habitat, because in their own words, they've never dealt with affordable housing before. I walked Laurel through the process. These are local action units. There's an application that they fill out. They need to hire an affordable housing lottery agent. It's not hard to do. Ray Safi did it for the project on Main Street. And that person that they hire takes care of making sure that application is complete, making sure that their marketing plan is compliant, making sure that the lottery is done correctly. But it ensures that they are living up to the requirements in the special permit. I agree that this is going to go to the planning board, because I think Harbor Classic Homes is going to ask the planning board to waive this requirement in the special permit and have Habitat do it. But we, as the Affordable Housing Trust, need to have a position. my own position, I'm just speaking for myself at this point, because this is the first time we've had this conversation as a trust. My position is that they need to honor the condition that they provide this housing that is 100% identical and built to the same specs and to the same standards and by the same professional carpenters, etc., as the market rate housing. And I think it opens a whole can of worms for future applicants, whether under iPod or anything else, if people can farm this out to nonprofits. That's my position. But I'd like to have a group position so that if we go to the planning board, I'm not speaking as a lone wolf, just my own voice as a resident, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust. So I think Frank, it's fine. He's chair of the planning board. He wants to recuse himself or step aside. That's fine. But maybe Deb, Jason, Kelly, I welcome your input on this because I honor group consensus. I think it's really important that other team members provide their point of view on this. And if the Housing Trust does not have a particular opinion on it, then that's okay. But I certainly don't want to misrepresent the group consensus.
I'll jump in and say, yeah, I mean, if the Affordable Housing Trust wants to, make a motion to approve language to send to the planning board as a recommendation, we should absolutely do that. And yeah, and Frank would handle that fine. Frank knows exactly how to participate in that. So yeah, if this committee wants to play an active role in that, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Jason.
What was that, Jason? Did you say you want what?
I basically was just debating semantics. I was debating procedure, right? If this board would like to, have a motion to send language to the planning board, we should absolutely do that. And yeah, and that's a great idea if that's what we want to do.
I would certainly encourage that. I mean, that I can say. I can't, and I do not wish to say what you should say, but I would certainly encourage something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kelly?
I think Deb was going to go. I mean, I'm with Jason, and that's pretty much the stance I have on it as well. And I'll let Deb speak.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. You can say more. Without having been privy to the correspondence, and Brian makes some great points, I tend to. I wish Carolyn was here. She could have a little bit more to say, but I tend to think that it's done very, very differently, and the language, the precedent that it sets, that we stick to the language that we have and make sure that is represented for whatever the planning board or wherever that it's going to be the deciding factor. So I mean, I kind of tend to think like Victoria on this, but I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to know how exactly it's gone, but it sounds like from the correspondence they had for her, that was what they were implying of handing it off, and I don't pretend to know how it goes, but I tend to think it is handled. Habitat for Humanity does do a particular process. Does this mean, I know they like the homeowners to work on the project or be involved. So does that mean they're going to pick them before they even it's just, yeah, it's a little bit, I'm sure it's very complicated. So I'm glad I don't have to make the decision, but that's my opinion.
I think I would like to circulate the emails that I received and the special permit. And then if Harbor Classic Homes, and when I say circulate, I mean to the Housing Trust members. And then if Harbor Classic Homes wants to, make a proposal for how this would work, the Housing Trust could certainly take a look at that. I know they would submit it to the planning board and then we could look at it. And I'm happy to put some draft language together for how we feel at this point and circulate that. And then maybe we can discuss it at the first meeting in next month. So I'll do that. I'll circulate what I've received so far. I'll put together a draft that I'm not going to submit. I'm going to circulate that, and then we can go over it next meeting. And then thirdly, I'll suggest that if Harbor Classic Homes wants to submit something precise as to what they want to do, that they can do that. I mean, we can take a look at it, but I just feel like it's a huge wrinkle to bring into this process that ultimately was supposed to be about the same identical units of the same quality for the other, the two affordable units. And I think it brings in some real concerns about what happens down the road and who are we working with? Are we working with Habitat? Are we working with Harbor Classic Homes? And what happens when there's a problem with a unit and or somebody, points out that something wasn't done exactly the same when Habitat did it, or just that it's different or something, and they're not getting the same unit. The state is so strict about this that units be identical and so forth. So, all right, thanks everyone. That was a big detour on Harbor Classic Homes. And then lastly, the property rehab on Main Street, the 197 Main Street, that's the one unit under inclusionary zoning. That is, I think it's, my understanding, Brian, is that they did sign what they needed to sign. They that got deed restricted at the state. And so that was terrific. And all we need to do now is submit an application to have it added to Lancaster's SHI. There's a lottery underway for that going on right now, by the way. It's on the Lancaster Town website. It's on our webpage. I've seen it. I think it's on the main, where did I saw it on our webpage, and then I noticed it in a few other places. It says Ross Manor on it. It's right next to Ross Manor. So that lottery is underway for one affordable unit, and the lottery for Cottage Lane is also underway with local preference. So, all right, we don't have any updates for existing subsidized housing. There's nothing going on with any of our existing units. Next up in the agenda, Section 8, correspondence. I did get some correspondence about DCAM, just folks wondering sort of like what's going on and would anything be on the town meeting warrant? And I understand that no, there's nothing planned to be on the town meeting warrant. But because it has to do with DCAM, Deb, do you have any information that you want to share from Kate?
We did recently I kind of reached out to get an update, and it's basically probably everything that you are saying. It's kind of a bit stalled.
It's stalled at the legislature, I think.
The legislature, so of course, need we say more? Legislature waiting to move, it's out of committee apparently and through the first reading. So whatever that means, the rounds have been done with the town boards and the committees and for the feedback with the proposal images and I guess next steps would be she says would be to get some citizens meetings and open sessions, but that would be it would be better if we could get further in the legislative process before we try to plan anything like that. Is kind of the feedback I'm getting.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I mean, in terms of feedback from boards and committees, I do think that we need to have much more feedback on, like, we only had one session with Kate we looked at some proposals from mass development, but I would anticipate that there would be more kind of giving much more feedback on like the kind of housing and what we wrote in our letter to the select board was deeply affordable because of the huge wait list for Bigelow Gardens and the 30% AMI units. So
yeah,
I just want to make sure that like where there is more opportunity for feedback, and particularly, I mean, I'm biased for the affordable housing piece, but also for the other parts of that. My sense was that those proposals for mass development were sort of like a first pass, but I don't think that
yeah.
I don't think we've had the nitty gritty yet.
So
my
the
understanding?
feedback from citizens, right? Like in public meetings or something like that, or
Well, yeah, like those charrettes where you have citizens, certainly your neighborhood, Deb, being a butters, but also anybody else in town who wants to speak up, but also, the Affordable Housing Trust talking about, getting into the nuts and bolts of how the deeply affordable needs to work. And
yeah.
yeah, okay, good.
Um,
So
yeah,
that's not going to happen until after the legislature piece.
yeah, because we got to be able to say that it's actually moving
Right,
or
right.
something. And I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. I'm not happy, I'd like to see it move move along, but I guess we can afford to wait a little bit. I don't know.
Well, isn't there a deadline though is it the end of 2024 that
I think
we have to, Brian, do you know, I think it's the end of 2024, don't we have to, or is
I,
it?
I apologize if that's Kate's thing, and I just really haven't had the opportunity to really jump in there and.
it moved so much, the meter. I know that it's like an 18-month thing, but I'm not sure when that actually started. But it would have been 2024, December 2024, but I guess I can get clarification on that. But
I mean, I could certainly, I was actually thinking earlier today, I could, I probably do need to get more up to speed with this. So I was thinking of just, giving Kate an email, say, hey, can we talk about this in a little more? Let me get some of the details. Let me drill down to this, so they can have it available for discussion points and meetings such as this with the planning board or whatever. But yeah, so I can reach out to Kate and get some more solid information on what are the expectations and where are we going with this.
Well, the legislature breaks for like their, I don't know when, but hopefully it's going to get done before when's the end of their legislative year? Is it?
Victoria, you don't really watch stuff in Beacon Hill much, do you? I mean, they got our current budget 4 months after the start of the fiscal year when it was supposed to be ready. So a solid 6 months behind schedule. So at least they haven't sent it off to committee where things go to die. But that not exactly the most quickly moving organization in the world these days.
Well, I mean, as long as DCAM is comfortable pushing out their deadline, like right now, I guess we're not doing anything because it's held up in the legislature. As long as DCAM, says we understand that, so we give you, extra time or something. So. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on, what are we on? Correspondence. That was the only thing, there was correspondence about DCAM. Anything else? All right. Any public comment this evening? I see a hand from the Geramos. The floor is yours. Go ahead. Please state your name and address.
This is Deb Duramo, Harvard Road. I wanted to thank the trustees for the work on affordable housing. It's an important thing to our town, and I appreciate your work on it. And I also want to appreciate that you have public comment on your agenda, which a lot of committees don't. So thank you for that. Couple things I wanted to talk about. DCAM, I had reached out to Brian today for some information, and he suggested I reach out to Kate. So Kate did respond to me on DCAM. I had originally heard the deadline was July, but Kate said the deadline is December of 2024. But like you said, it's tied up with the legislature. My concern is that we're going to be told to turn stuff around quickly and have a plan in place. And I would really like to see the town have a committee dedicated to what are we going to do with DCAM? How do we find out what the best thing is for the town to meet all of our needs? It could be, the golden egg for Lancaster. And I really think we should have a committee dedicated to that. But if you folks support that idea, I'd suggest you tell the selectmen that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Neck Farm Estates. I know there's 11 units planned on that small lot. My concern is that there's no space on that lot for any playground, any kids to play. I know it's not far from the town center and the Thayer playground, but there's no place outside their house for them to play. And the thing that really scares me is it's very close to the railroad tracks, which the trains have recently, I think they're probably going by now at 40 miles an hour. And I would hate to see kids playing on the railroad tracks. So maybe a fence would help. I don't know, but I've written comments. I don't know if the Affordable Housing Trust would have better luck pushing for, enhancements for the kids and safety for all residents. So that's my spiel. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deb. Interesting feedback about Neck Farm Estates, something for us to consider. We did make comments earlier in the year, but I've been going to the hearings. It's an interesting point of view about the railroad tracks and the kids' playground area. Thank you. Thank you for that. Jason, quick question. Has there been any talk at the select board about a citizens group or like board members and some citizens working on DCAM?
There hasn't. Kate has been handling all of that. She's very intimately involved with it, and I'm sure would welcome feedback from residents. I would like to mention one thing, Victoria, if that's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
I agree with resident Duramo regarding public comment, and I have requested an agenda item for the next select board meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Is there additional public comment this evening? Yes, Ralph Gifford, name and address. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Ralph Gifford, 861 George Hill Road. I want to second Deb Duramo's first her thanking you for the opportunity to make a public comment, and second, affordable housing is so important, and I'm really glad for the work that you folks are doing. Sitting on the sewer district, I am well aware that the lack of sewerage is really an impediment to getting affordable housing, especially in South Lancaster, which is one of the portions of the town that is better suited for affordable housing, in part because it's more likely to be within walking distance of shopping and the kind of things that could be important to people. So we certainly are aware of that and are going to be working as hard as we can to try to have more sewer capacity available for the town, and certainly to support the affordable housing initiatives. And I will also say, and this is where it's really weird and gets a little complex, I'm also not convinced that the Neck Road proposal is optimal for the affordable housing. It's strictly a coincidence that we don't have sewer and availability, and that may hold that up. And ultimately, that is, we have no say over that. Our job is to deliver sewer capacity. That's what we're trying to work on. But I hope that there is a way to find other proposals that will be better suited, better located, and meet our needs, which are significant. And by the time that happens, that we will have sewer capacity available. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. I would just add that we're always interested in AUC at the Affordable Housing Trust. So keep us in mind when you put that hat on and you take your various hats, and we're always interested in AUC, and we've tried so very hard to get something going over there with affordable housing. So just keep us in mind if you're doing anything with AUC. we would really, really welcome a collaborative effort and to get something done with affordable housing over at AUC.
Will do.
Thanks,
Thank
Ralph.
you. Thanks for the reminder. Yep.
Yep. All right. Any other public comment this evening? Okay. I'm moving on. New business. I do have one item of new business. Kelly mentioned to me just within the last several days, an initiative that I thought sounded really terrific about rental housing. And Kelly, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I should have brought this up earlier before the meeting, but you had mentioned the workshop or roundtable that you'd like to do at the community center. Could you share a little bit more about that with the trust and the folks on the meeting tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing this up, actually. So as most of you guys know, and if you don't, the community center, we have kind of an education series that we host. We bring in some life skills classes. We bring in what's called an elder education series. And I'm really trying to think outside the box here. I put on some great Board of Health seminars, and I thought, what a great opportunity to possibly connect with you guys and get some people who are, experts in the field and talk about just the processes that take place from any form of housing, and specifically, talk about what a lottery is, how to fill out applications, obviously talking also about state housing and public housing. But I just feel this is a good opportunity to bring some people in and learn more about what is available out there, and or just getting a more realistic view of wait times. And I know that's not very nice or fun to hear, but I do think some people need to know what that looks like so they can properly plan in the midst of some strong waits that we have ahead of us.
Absolutely. I think it's a fabulous idea. We've talked in the past about, how to do outreach, and I really like it. I think it does dovetail really nicely with some of the other topics that have been discussed in those forums. So I saw one recently about the the tax, what is it, the senior work program for tax reduction or something. And I think all those things are really good educational outreach opportunities. So how can we make it happen?
Well, we'll definitely make it happen. And I think what would be a great starting point here is I could write the trust an email kind of giving an idea of some seminar topics. And if any of you guys have any folks you recommend, I'll do all the outreach. I'm happy to do that and start setting up some time frames. And then my goal would be to come up with an example of maybe 5 different topics, 5 seminars, and send out some flyers around that, and kind of bring us into the summer for this. So that'll be my goal, starting in the spring and probably ending around the summer, and doing it again perhaps before winter falls.
So this is actually like a series. When you said 5 topics, they'd be multiple dates or 5 topics at the same meeting?
No, so multiple dates. So that way, I like to have a little bit of variety in there. For example, it could be, the application process. It could be what is affordable housing? How does one get involved in it? And then another one could be state public housing, CHAMP applications.
Yes.
Believe it or not, even like in some of the life skills courses, applications can be really intimidating for people. So we like to even offer to help fill them out with folks. So we do that as well.
So cool. All right. I think it sounds terrific. We'll look out for an email from you and count us in. I really, really like it. I think it's great. Thanks for thinking of the Affordable Housing Trust and this topic in seminars. Great. Okay. Anything else under new business? No? Okay. All right. Communications, our next 2 meetings, Thursday, April 4th, 2024 at 7 o'clock, and Thursday, May 2nd, 2024 at 7 o'clock, both via Zoom. There's a survey taking place right now, if you have not heard. I'd encourage the members of the Affordable Housing Trust to be sure to fill this out. and advocate for affordable housing, but also anybody else that's watching this tonight or on the cable later. You can find this survey online. It's called Lancaster 2035. It's a survey for the master plan. We have paper copies. The town also has put those out at the, I think at the library. Brian, are the paper copies at the library over there? Do you know?
Oh, no, I know I didn't put some over there, but I have plenty of them. I can bring some
Your
over there.
office? Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
have them. I have them at each of the windows, customer service windows in town hall, and the two tables. And but you know, for all if to the extent that people can scan the QR code and do it online, it just makes it a lot easier for the consultant to track and score and
Okay. So the
right. So there are paper copies, but if at all possible, we encourage the online responses.
Got it. Okay. Well, just be sure to fill this out and tell your neighbors, tell your friends. It's really important that we have a high participation rate. If you care about, what Lancaster is going to look like in the next years, the master plan is really important. So that's going on right now.
It's also on the web. Link is on the website and on the 2035 Lancaster 2035 website, which has a link on the town website.
Okay, and there is a section about housing and affordable housing in there. What's the deadline to fill this out?
March 30th.
March 30th. Okay. Next, I want to mention this Citizen Planner Training Collaborative annual conference. They're an awesome group, and they do these really user-friendly workshops. They do things throughout the year, but their annual conference is coming up on Saturday, March 16th. There's still time to register. The deadline is Tuesday, March 12th. It's held 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. right over at Holy Cross in Worcester. They have something like, at least 12, maybe 15 different workshops going on. They cover affordable housing. They cover all kinds of zoning and town planning issues and land use issues. It's great. It's a great conference. Neck Farm Estates comprehensive permit hearing is continued to Thursday, March 28th at 7 o'clock in the Nashaway room of the Prescott building and also on Zoom. So if you're following that project or you have feedback or comments, now's the time while the hearing is going on to make sure you get those in. And that is it for me. Any other comments before we adjourn Housing Trust? No? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming, Housing Trust and members of the public. Super productive meeting tonight. We appreciate all your time and effort. Is there a motion to adjourn? Sorry.
I'll make the motion to adjourn, but I would also encourage everyone to watch the State of the Union address, which starts in a little bit over half an hour.
Thank
I
you.
second the motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason Allison,
Yes.
Frank Streeter,
Yes.
Deborah Williams,
Yes.
and Victoria Petrarca, yes. We are adjourned Housing Trust at a little before 8:30.